to another week of online learning. How about it? So, things are a little different this week. Okay, actually, what I'm going to do with you guys is in this video and in the PowerPoint, which I'll attach through the email and I'll put on Post Portals. I'm just going to go over like the very end of the Cold War with you, because actually how you guys are going to learn a bit about the ending is by doing a project this week. So you're not going to have any assignment like how you usually see this. Well, there is like the project actually is going to be in this attachment, but no discussion board post, no quiz this week. It's literally just getting this mini project in. Okay, considering it is a project, it will be worth count more. It will count as basically like your quiz for the week and your work for the week. So we want to do a good job on this, okay? So what you're going to be doing, okay, is you'll watch this video, and then after you're done watching this video, what you're going to be doing for the project is you are going to be creating a lesson plan, okay? So what's going to happen is one of these bullet points up here. Okay, those are different events that happened at the end of the Cold War. So what you're doing is you're going to be creating a lesson plan based on one of those events. Now, what's a lesson plan? Okay, well, that's what teachers do when we go and we, obviously plan or organize like the things that we're going to teach you guys. So we write out a lesson plan. Now I'm modifying it. I'm not making you guys do what I would have to do. So this is definitely the much easier version, just to put it out there. So you choose one. So whether it be like the Era of Détente or the fall of the Berlin Wall, that'd be a nice one. Independence movements that happened after then, the Cold War. Choose one and focus your lesson on that, okay? Now, I give you the requirements here, but I think it's a lot easier if I just show you what an exemplar would look like. So, the examples here, this is my example, and then what you're going to see, I'll show you in a moment, is the template you guys are going to use. So, lesson objective, okay? Your lesson objective is your goal or the thing that you want students to learn by the time the lesson is over. Right, that's a lesson objective. Now I'll let you guys either write in a statement version or a question version. In the example, I gave you guys a statement, right? So students will be able to discuss how the arms race led to increased tensions between the US and the USSR post-World War II, right? So I'm telling you what students will be able to do, right? So students will know, students will understand, students will learn, students will be able to discuss or explain, right? That's how that sentence should start. You guys, I want you to identify a grade level. Now you guys are high school, you might find it easiest to design a lesson for high school students. But hey, you have the option also to make it elementary grade level or junior high school grade level. It's up to you. Then your activities. So you're gonna have to find a reading. So this could be like a small paragraph from a website, just giving us a little background information on content. That's totally fine. So you have like a little excerpt here, right? Really nothing more than like a large paragraph. Then you need to design a question of your own that goes along with this. And I want you guys providing answer keys the whole time, right? So what's your answer to the question you posed based on the reading, okay? So that's one activity. The other activity you have to design is I want you to find a video clip. So go to YouTube, right? If you're doing the Era of Détente, or if you're doing the fall of the Berlin Wall, you might find a speech on the fall of the Berlin Wall, right? So you might want to say, video clip, speech by President Reagan about the fall of the Berlin Wall. You have a question based on the video and answer that you design. Then you're going to find two images. So this could be a real photograph, it could be some type of chart, it could be a political cartoon. Same deal, image, design your own question based on the image, answer your own question. Same thing for image 2. Image, it ended up being up there, but question, and you provide an answer. Then the last bit you have to do is after the lesson is over, you have to assess your students, right? How do you know if they really learned something? So I'm going to let you guys brainstorm some type of assessment you would give. So you could, for instance, give a short quiz. So maybe you design 5 quick quiz questions and you provide me answers. That would go here, right? Based on the activities you had your students do. Maybe you have them make a poster, right? Maybe you would have them design something or do a little bit of creative writing. That's a formal assessment, okay? You want to know what students learn based on the activities that they did. And then the last bit here is I want a materials list. Really, this is for your activities. So where do you get your reading from? Where do you get your video clips, your images from? I want website links to all that, all right? And that's it. That's all the lesson plan is. I provided a template here, so you are welcome to, in Word or Google Docs, you could type, you can edit into this box. If this doesn't work out for you, maybe something weird happens where when you download attachments for some reason it doesn't come up correct for you, it's fine. Just make sure when you submit to me your project that all these elements are a part of it, okay? So even if you don't use this chart, all the elements are a part of it, okay? I go into detail about these all the way at the top, and I try to provide you a few short little examples here too. And I told you also the points of everything, how much everything will be worth. Okay, this will be a 50-point test grade, and you will be losing points if you turn in late. So just a heads up on that. You know, you want to try to maybe get this done earlier rather than later. So just in case if you run into issues, you could ask me. But I think it's pretty straightforward because I give you a good little example and a template to use. Okay? All right, so we are wrapping up the Cold War. How's the Cold War come to an end? Okay, so we talked about it heating up last week. Just in case you missed this on the quiz, the hottest event of the Cold War was the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's the hottest the Cold War got, or the closest we got to nuclear warfare. So, what happens? Well, as we go into the 70s, okay, we have this thing called SALT. All right, this is one of the events that I've listed for the project. Basically, what the SALT talks were, okay, is we sat down and we started discussing or negotiating limiting armaments or limiting dangerous nuclear weapons, right? So we're trying to ease the tensions of the Cold War. We're trying to relax the tensions, right? That's basically the aim here. So we call this era of peace. It was sparked by these negotiations. And during the 70s, we had this era of détente, or this relaxed time period where things were not so tense between us and the Soviet Union. Eventually, this era will come to an end. The Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, okay, which was very similar to how when we invaded Vietnam, in the matter of how people received it in the Soviet Union. They were not very supportive of the war in Afghanistan. And actually, if you ever heard of people like Osama bin Laden and things of that nature, it's because we actually used to give Afghanistan weapons. So at one point, we partially helped them out a bit during the Cold War. Now, China. We haven't talked about China. We will be talking about them more specifically after this week, because China was communist, okay? And we're going to see a lot of similarities, actually, between how China's communism looked in comparison with the Soviet Union's communism. For our purposes right now, during the 70s as well, we had a little bit of a better relationship with China. A lot of this had to do with our president at the time, Richard Nixon, and they called this era ping-pong diplomacy, but this era of better relations with China. So how did the Cold War finally come to an end? Okay, it did not end until 1991. Some people would still argue there's remnants of it that still exist today. Really, the reason why the Cold War came to an end is because the Soviet Union could not keep up. They were economically strapped. All the money that they were spending towards making weapons, right, the arms race, had really put a strain on the economy of the Soviet Union and the well-being of their people. So along came this man named Mikhail Gorbachev, and he instituted two policies, which you guys had defined already as vocab terms: glasnost and perestroika. So glasnost was basically his program, his policy that opened up freedom of speech, right? Because usually in communist countries, you do not have freedom of speech. There's a lot of censorship, right? A lot of things are banned. You can't say or do certain things. And then he also had the policy of perestroika, which was basically a restructuring of the economy, so it was less communist and it was starting to allow in some capitalist practices. Now it kind of failed, but the attempts at this showed that the Soviet Union was changing. A very symbolic moment was when the Berlin Wall came down. And if you do choose to talk about the fall of the Berlin Wall, that's really great, especially if you look for that speech clip. It was a very powerful moment in history, because when that wall came down, it kind of basically signified the end of the Cold War and the end of this poor relationship between the US and the Soviet Union. The impact. Okay, so with these changes, what ended up happening is many Eastern European countries who had been a part of the Soviet Union, so we're talking about countries like Poland, Hungary, Romania, Czechoslovakia, there's a bunch, Lithuania, all these places that used to be under the umbrella of Soviet Union control now are independent. Okay, so Russia, this is when Russia goes back to being called Russia, and that's what they're called today, right? We don't call Russia the Soviet Union anymore. So this is when we see the name change, and all these places become independent. They no longer have to be under the control of the Soviet Union. And with this, the US ended up becoming the sole superpower of the world. And some people question that idea. You know, the US is involved in many activities abroad. You know, sometimes we go into countries and we're very, very helpful. We try to do a lot of good. A lot of people expect the US, when there's times when there's bad things going down, that will show up and will provide aid. But then there's other times where some people argue maybe we stick our nose in places where we shouldn't. And we're kind of like the policemen of the world. So it's kind of the responsibility that goes into us after the Cold War becoming really the sole superpower. So that's the end of the Cold War. Good luck on your projects. Questions, email me as soon as you can. Be well.